You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin for supporting The Coffee Hour. Find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu.
Live uncommon.
Speaking of Concordia University, Wisconsin, It is that time of year. Many parents are rejoicing.
Some are not.
Some are crying. And students probably of all ages may be excited to be going to school.
Hey,
Some may be less than excited to go to school. It just depends on, I guess, where you are in life. But if you are in that college age window, heading back to school, or maybe heading off to college for the first time, maybe getting settled into a dorm, or maybe your very first apartment for the first time, it's kind of an important stage in life. It's such a, I don't know, how would you describe that stage in life? Exciting?
Nerve-wracking. Terrifying. And awesome.
All at the same time. Campus ministry is an important part of that college life experience. Staying connected to campus ministry is important. To help us talk about that today, the Reverend Richard Woelmer. He's at University Lutheran Church in Indiana, and Bloomington, Indiana happens to be at Indiana University. Pastor Woelmer, thanks so much for being our guest today.
You're very welcome.
How long have you been serving in campus ministry? I know this is I think a milestone for you, isn't it, this year?
Yes, it is. This is my 30th year of campus ministry, beginning my 30th year. So I came in the fall of 94 and thought that, I know how to do this because my vicarage was at a campus ministry. And so I always thought that I would stay for maybe 5 years, but I realized this is where my heart is, and I think it's one of the most important places to be in the world with the gospel. And so I've stayed all this time.
What is it about campus ministry, college-age students, that makes this type of opportunity so important to offer to students at a university?
Well, because they're at a time in their lives when they're weighing what they're going to jettison from their upbringing as maybe unnecessary or maybe not relatable to them, and what they're going to hold on to. And so if we are there on the campus with the gospel and with a clear message, they can come and be nurtured with Word and Sacrament ministry and continue on holding onto that faith that they were raised in, and so they can go out from here knowing what it means to be part of a congregation as a young person, and translate that into serving as a churchman throughout the rest of their lives. And so I think it's just a very crucial place to be, not only for those who are already Lutheran coming in, but just as kind of like this outpost, this embassy for Jesus Christ. And I often refer to it that way, where we're located, because we have the Chabad house right next to us. We have the LGBTQ house 2 doors down. Then we have the Latino campus ministry. And so it's like this whole array of different perspectives and offerings. And so we are there in a very vital place, I think, as an ambassador for Christ.
You mentioned that this is a stage in life where students often decide what they're going to jettison that they were brought up with and what they're going to retain. I couldn't have said it better myself. What a great way to describe what happens in this stage of life, and developing an understanding of who you are and what you're going to be, and how essential it is to have Word and Sacrament ministry at this stage in life, so that there's that support in retaining something that's so important in life. How do you connect with students, whether they come from a Lutheran background or maybe don't have a background in the church at all? How do you connect with students in a campus ministry setting like yours?
It really is kind of a broad range of ways. We get some referrals from congregations that come through, like the district or through the synod effort to come up with connections and names, and we follow up on those very faithfully. Other times it's just people walking by on campus when they first come into Bloomington and see, oh, there's a Lutheran church. And I had a couple of years ago, I had this one student come in and he was almost in tears. He was so happy. He says, I just walked by here and the sign says Missouri Synod Lutheran Church. And I thought, this is fantastic. And he was just so happy. And so a lot of that kind of thing, just foot traffic and people realizing that we're here. And we put ads in the student newspaper. We have our website. We have all kinds of different ways for people to connect. And a large part of it is friends inviting friends and people that are just kind of sampling different churches and theology. They come in and they really kind of grab hold of what the message is coming from here.
You mentioned you're in the midst of several other options as maybe somebody coming on campus seeing an LCMS campus ministry as one of many things. How do you cut through that noise to really share the gospel with students, especially when they're being inundated with all of this new stuff at college, maybe learning new things in classes that they've never heard before, being taught from a variety of worldviews? How do you cut through all of that to continually share the truth of the gospel?
Well, we make it very clear that we need to maintain a biblical perspective, and so that in some ways that helps with people who have been brought up in the church, and we express the importance of maintaining that biblical worldview as opposed to everything that they're learning in their classes and the different perspectives, and then for those who aren't from a Lutheran background, they just seem to really grasp hold of some truth because they're scared. Many young people today are just scared of what's going on in the world. I mean, they've grown up with the danger of climate change, with the tensions worldwide, and wrestling with the whole idea of acceptance of gays and transgenderism and gay marriage, and they're just really wondering about what do I really believe? What am I going to grasp hold of here? And so they come in really scared, and they're given that assurance that no matter what is going on around them, no matter what the world is proclaiming to be the truth or a truth, they can find the truth here and know that they are a forgiven child of God through the blood of Jesus Christ, and they can participate in that every Sunday and actually as a community, throughout the week.
What do you consider to be essential to campus ministry like yours? What's necessary for it to truly be a campus ministry to meet the needs of the students you're serving?
Well, as always, it's a matter of being clearly Word and Sacrament. That's the focus. Our Sunday gathering and fellowship around the gifts of life and salvation and the forgiveness of sins, that is all primary. But then it spills out. And the wonderful thing about campus ministry is that you can create a community of believers that is like a hub for everyone to partake in. We have a student center connected to the church. It's open every day from 9 to 9. People come in and just hang out. They eat their lunch there. We do offer meals on Wednesday night, a free meal, and that's the home of all of our Bible studies and activities. So it really is a hub for community life throughout the week. So not just on Sunday, although Sunday is the most important thing. And so we have a whole host of things. We try to come up with a reason to come into the University Lutheran Church Student Center, every day. And some people do come every day. And then also, along with that, as I said, we're always pointing to the biblical worldview and helping them to realize how that is clashing with what they're learning, and helping them to see how critical that is and in maintaining their faith. And also we focus on vocation. How if people are wondering, well, should I really go into teaching or should I be in biology or whatever? And the encouragement from me as a campus pastor is that we need people in all fields being Christians and being able to articulate their faith. And so here you will learn how to do that. And your vocation is God-pleasing, whatever you decide to do. And whatever your gifts that God has given you, use those in that vocation. And of course, that applies to becoming a pastor too. We've sent several people to seminary. And so I don't try to really push people. I do notice, who is particularly, theologically minded, and we have some great discussions, things like that. And so that often leads to a consideration of going to seminary. But really, the conversation is always on use your gifts in your vocation. Be an articulate Christian in the world.
Do you have advice for those who might feel some reluctance to finding a campus ministry or searching out church while they're a student?
Well, that kind of is the way people feel these days in general among young people, a reluctance to join a religious organization. COVID really, damaged, people's mindsets as far as joining things. And so that made it even harder. And so I think things are returning back to normal somewhat as far as them feeling comfortable with coming out to be part of an organization, especially a church or a campus ministry. We just try to be as welcome and as opening as we can. We have events that hopefully put people at ease, and we try to, make the church as like an open book, that you can discover the gospel, you can indulge yourself in the richness of God's word, and be a student, someone who is aware of what's going on in the world and can articulate their faith in the midst of anything that they might face after they graduate from here.
What's your word to parents who are sending their kids off to college, maybe for the first time, or maybe they're returning to college, who haven't connected with a campus ministry yet?
We see a lot of people who only come when their parents come to visit, and that's fine, and we certainly want to maintain those connections when they do come. But I would encourage parents to do just that, to go to church with their student, with their son or daughter, whenever they're on campus, at least to introduce them to campus ministry if they haven't been involved at all yet, and talk about the importance of being in a Word and Sacrament ministry while they're in college, and not really falling for the first person that comes up and asks them to go to this or that group. Seek out the Lutheran campus ministry and explain how that's really important for that person's spiritual well-being. And I think a lot of students respect that and will become involved because of the encouragement of their parents.
Our guest today, the Reverend Richard Woelmer. He serves at University Lutheran Church, serving students at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. Thanks so much for being our guest today, Pastor Woelmer.
You're very welcome.
You've been listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
At Concordia University, Wisconsin, we believe you were created for a reason: to use your God-given gifts to help others. To live a life of self-sacrifice in a me-first world. To live a life that's uncommon. Whether you're taking one of 50-plus online programs or learning with us in person on the shores of Lake Michigan, you'll be equipped to make an uncommon impact. Learn more at cuw.edu. Concordia University, Wisconsin. Live uncommon.
You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
We are talking all things campus ministry today. Joining us now, Julianna Shults, fellow DCE and program manager for LCMS Youth Ministry. welcome to the coffee hour.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's kind of odd being on the other side of the table in the studio, isn't it, for you?
A little bit.
Because I didn't include also host of End Goals Youth Ministry podcast, which you can find on the KFUO website, on the KFUO app, and anywhere you get podcasts. End Goals Youth Ministry podcast. Great podcast. Always insights for parents, for youth leaders, for pastors.
Yeah.
Anybody else? And people who care about the young people of the church. That's right. So since we're talking about campus ministry today, why was it important to you to have a ministry of the Word and Sacrament for you as a student? Why was that valuable to you as a student while you were in college?
There is obviously huge value to Word and Sacrament ministry, no matter what your age.
Yeah, sure.
Right? It's a gift from God, no matter where we are in our life stages. But the importance of that in that young adult age is you're really getting bombarded by opportunities to hear new thoughts and new ideas. And that was certainly true for me, right? Hearing new concepts and trying to figure out and wrestle with them. And what does that mean for my life, and understanding and what I want to do in my future. And also just a new set of freedom and priorities, right? And, I was certainly blessed to be able to be involved in Bible studies and in worship in a way that grounded me and rooted me as I was trying to wrestle with those things. And then often gave me exposure to other people who were also wrestling with those things that could point me back to God's word, that could point me back to Jesus. And that's what we think, the value of campus ministry for young people is really that they are in this pivotal point in life where they're trying a lot of new things and they're figuring out what it means to be an adult in this world, which is different than adolescence as they're kind of making that transition. And so being able to have time where we're in worship, where we're in God's word, where we're praying together, where we're supporting one another is critical and is one of those times where it can be incredibly life-giving. And without it, it can be really hard to reconnect with the church after you've gone through that.
So let's talk about current Lutheran campus ministry, LCMSU. What is LCMSU?
Yeah, a little confusing maybe to some. LCMSU is what we call LCMS campus ministry, right? They're pretty synonymous, but we use the term LCMSU partly because then we can talk about there's LCMSU chapters all across the country. There's about 120 LCMSU chapters that are registered with us that have information that's available on our website, who do active ministry to a particular university or college, right? Some of them do active ministry to multiple universities and colleges, but a chapter is one that has a leader, a student leader. They're looking and they're working with a particular university and its students to care for them. So it doesn't require a lot to be an LCMSU chapter. You register with us, so we check your information and we make it available to folks. And it's a way for us then to connect those LCMSU chapters and their leaders with resources, with students, and on all sorts of other good things.
So LCMSU chapters could be a campus ministry that's actually on a campus or adjacent to a campus, or it could be a local congregation near a campus. Is that correct?
Exactly. So really, we know that most congregations have some kind of college or even a community college nearby. Lots of them do. If you are doing active ministry on that campus, you could be considered an LCMSU chapter, or it could be sometimes they are connected to a district, right? A district supports a ministry that is particular on a campus.
So over 120. So that means that students, especially new students, but maybe returning students that are heading out to college this week, next week, and the next few weeks, that there's an opportunity for them to connect with a campus ministry.
Yes, please.
Why, and you already shared this in your story a little bit, why now? Why at the beginning of the school year?
Yeah, we know that students are making decisions and getting into patterns really in those first few weeks on campus. And so there are studies that are out there. There's anecdotal evidence from our many, many campus ministry leaders that say the first 30 to 45 days are incredibly critical as students head to campus. So I've been watching friends who have been sending their kids off to school, their first day at university, dropping them off, and I'm thinking, okay, how are you setting them up in those first 30 to 45 days to make sure that they are connecting with some kind of campus ministry, particularly an LCMS campus ministry or a church that's nearby, and encouraging them to make sure that those become a part of their pattern right away. Because otherwise it can be very hard to kind of break an initial pattern and start something new.
Yeah, it's pretty hard if you start sleeping in on a Sunday morning on a new college campus to want to get up early as a college student.
Right. I mean, it's true for all of us. You get true. Into a habit in a new place, you move to a new house, and you start to do things in a particular way. And then it gets really hard to really shift your gears and try something different. And so, often they get busy or other things become a priority. And so making sure that that is one of the top priorities, especially in those first few weeks, is really important.
Yeah. So how do students do that? What's the process? If a new student is on campus, they don't totally know where they're going, what they're doing. How would a student get connected?
All right, so we're going to start with the widest net you can cast first, and then we'll kind of pare it down. So if you go to lcms.org, in the top right-hand corner, you can look for a locator. You go there, you can look for a church. You can find any church that's in the area of your campus, right? So if the first thing we should do, we want to get you connected to a church, right? So that's a way to do that. Also within that locator, you can go under advanced search and then under ministry type and pick out college or campus ministry. These are congregations that maybe don't have an active LCMSU chapter, but are familiar enough with the university. They're interested in caring for young people. And so they might, if you have some options, that might be a great way to kind of limit those down even more and be able to say, like, okay, we know these universities might be ones that are really friendly to college students coming for their first time, and they may be ready with you, hopefully maybe with some baked goods or some coffee or whatever, right? We love that. If we're looking for LCMSU chapters, you're going to go to campus ministry, which is a part of that website. So lcms.org/LCMSU. And you can look at the map there. Hopefully, there's the campus ministry in your area. It'll have all the contact information right there. You can Facebooks, Instagrams if they have them, websites if they have them. You can connect. That's a great way to get connected. If you are a little nervous, there's a student information collector, which we just added, which is super exciting and also will help you get connected.
That form, it's a form on the LCMSU webpage. Tell us a little bit about how that form works. You said if you're nervous, okay, so this is kind of a handy tool to get connected to an LCMSU chapter if you're kind of like nervous about like actually calling someone. So this is
talking to someone on the phone for many of us.
Thank you.
Right? Exactly. Or being like, I see that they're having an event and it's on Facebook and I'm just going to show up. Now, if you are that person, that's amazing. And I'm so grateful God made you that way. That is not how some of us are made. And so, so if that's you, that's great. Or if you are the parent or a church worker connected to that student and you know that's also them, with their permission. So either an adult with permission or the student themselves can go on this form. You're going to identify yourself. You're going to identify the student. You're going to tell us where they're headed, and you're going to give us some way to contact them. And then when we will receive that information, we go, okay, great. Joe is going to University of Minnesota. Great. I will forward that on to the LCMS chapter leader there, Pastor Kind, and say, hey, Joe is going to be coming onto campus. And that gives him an opportunity then to reach out and to make that connection. And so that kind of lowers the bar a little bit, an email or a text to help get that information flowing, help get them introduced so that questions can get asked and that kind of thing. So it can either be the student or it could be an adult. We do say if you're going to give information, particularly of a minor or really anybody's personal information, check with them first. Just give information willy-nilly. But But we do think it's a great way, if you have students that you know are headed to a campus that has an LCMSU chapter, for you to get connected. And if you don't see an LCMSU chapter there, it's going to walk you through the details of how to go back, like I said, to the locator and find college and campus ministry congregations in their area.
Very good. LCMS.org/LCMSU is certainly one way to find all the information about LCMSU. We'll share the link in the show notes today as well. Our guest today, Julianna Shults, Program Manager for LCMS Youth Ministry. Thank you so much for joining us on the Coffee Hour. All of the links, the info for LCMSU today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@KFUO.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.